Hey everybody, hold on. Let me go back to my overhead here. I've actually got my overhead going, which is an overhead camera that's on my little rack here. I was playing along with that with the intro bit. I'm sorry, I forgot I was supposed to be doing a show, but this is fun. Hey, Max is here. Look at that. Andrew Duque, J.H. Kingston the third. Let me just end this here and get to the show. Sorry about that, guys. It just was experimenting a little bit with my little rack here. You sometimes have it just sitting there and make some fun stuff with it. Let me just get my regular camera. Hello, welcome back. It's been, how long has it been? It's been a week. Yes, you are back at Production Basics. We are 343 TV. We come from 343 Labs. We are here every day at 1 o'clock. We stream about all sorts of things that you like, which means you like stuff about producing music, writing music, recording music, and all of that. 343 Labs is a school that I am proud to be an instructor at. We have locations in New York and Berlin. We have locations on the internet as well, everywhere. Anywhere you want to be, we are, because we are ubiquitous. We are in the internet. We are on the internet, and we will come to you and give you a class at your house through the internet. So yes, what I mean is that we have classes starting all the time online. I'm holding about maybe 4 or 5 classes at the moment, but every week or so we have new classes starting in all subjects: mixing and mastering, Ableton Live. We have classes based on music composition. We have classes based on vocal production. We have classes based on, well, anything that you might want to learn about all this space. We are there. Come check us out at 343labs.com, or if you want to see our German site, 343labs.de. And yes, my name is Abe, and I am here with you guys every Friday doing this kind of a show where we talk about production and all that to do with that. I see John Selway is there. John, I'm hoping that you know what is going to happen at the end of the show. Maxwell says, John's here. That's right, John's here, and John promised us a little bit of something at the end of the show. We'll see if he delivers. Max Wild, and you guys you guys that have the link to kind of come into the show, you guys can do it at any time. I'm happy to have people here. I heard TAETRO this week on dolltr show on Monday describe my show as a party. And you know what? I'm running with that. This is a party. We're having a weekly Friday party at 1 p.m. So join us here, and I'm going to try to make it as fun as I can every time. Today we have a special guest. Our special guest, I'll leave that as a mystery for a little bit. Actually, it's not a mystery. I already wrote it on the website. We have Neil Landstrumm is going to be joining us later. If you guys know who Neil Landstrumm is, he's a super accomplished producer in all sorts of styles, from techno to house to drum and bass. A bit, well, not drum and bass, maybe more dubstep, the UK style dubstep. But he's and all sorts of experiments in music, and I thought he'd be perfect for today's show because he is out of all the people that I've seen and witnessed experimenting and making their productions. Neil Landstrumm has been the one that has inspired me the most, because I've really learned just by standing next to this guy and watching him work and basically experiment. All right, so let's see what's going on in the chat. Everybody just saying hello to each other. It's Friday the 13th. That's right. J.H. Kingston III has told us it's Friday the 13th. Now we must have a real party, or maybe just Friday the 13th in 2020 means today the world is ending. I don't know, but at least we're all here and we're enjoying our company here on the interweb. All right, so let's get to the subject of the day. I wanted to discuss the value of experimentation today. I wanted to talk about what we can do with experimentation. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times people think, and I've run into this both in my professional career, working with people, and also in my teaching career, where people have this impression that when they write music, and when they compose and when they produce, that they need to construct everything in their brain prior to laying it down. And now that may be the case for a lot of people. There are people's brains that work that way. I know one of the people that I got a really I was really lucky to work with and do stuff with in the studio, and even tour with before he died, was a producer from Finland called Mika Vainio. He was from a label called Sakko from Finland, which I got lucky to be also releasing on that. But to watch this guy work, it was obvious that whatever he was doing, whatever he was making happen, he was making some of the most crazy stuff. You would call it experimental music. But whatever this guy was doing, it was obviously born in here before it actually happened. And he just needed to translate it into the sound. And he had it all right in his head. And it was quite amazing to see that happen. And from time to time, you do run into these types, the type of people that will be totally sure about what they're writing and know that they just need to translate that. But a lot of us are not that talented. I'm not. I can imagine or conceptualize something in my head or be inspired in my head, but a lot of the times the successes that I have are coming from experimentation and not being afraid to experiment. So let's go through some of the notes that I've written here about experimentation. Yes, R.I.P. Mika Vainio, incredible works. That's Andrew Duque saying that about if you want to hear some amazing electronic music, pure stuff, just listen to anything that he's done. He also had a group called Pansonic with his partner Ilpo. Check that music out. It's just out of space. Okay. Let's see. I see Thomas is writing into the chat some of the things that I need to be mentioning here. We have a giveaway this week, and it's going to be happening on John's show tomorrow on Techno Saturdays. The giveaway is a $200 Ableton voucher. Now, hey guys, Ableton just announced Ableton 11. I've seen it. I've seen what it can do. It's quite amazing. There's a lot of really cool new features, especially for those of you that are vocalists. A lot of vocalists that have been using Logic and wanted to move over to Ableton have been very frustrated not being able to do this comping thing that you can do in Logic. But now Ableton has adopted that. And not only that, but tons of other things. I went. We had an Ableton user group meeting last night. Claire was, or dolltr, you might know her as, was leading or leads that group, and was leading yesterday. Was all about Ableton 11 and the new features, and it was a couple hours of just showing off new features. If you want to check it out, I think it should be archived there. But anyway, we're giving away a $200 Ableton voucher for those that might want to win that. And there was something else, and then there's enter your info for the following link for a chance to win, right? But then there's also this like Thomas was telling me something about we're having a Black Friday sale coming up soon, and there was like some sort of pre-Black Friday list that you can get on. I don't know. Maybe Thomas could write something in the chat about that. Let's see, Andrew Duque. Let me just read. He's writing a lot about that. He writes all his information. He was born in 1963 and died in 2017. Finnish electronic musician. He was the best known as a member of Pansonic. Yes, that's right. Also recorded under aliases. Sometimes I can't pronounce this stuff, but Kento, Levi, Philus, and Techno Techno was a project that he did on my label. The Techno I released 2 releases from him on my record Tension under the Techno project. It was kind of a techno project of his. Anyway, let's continue. So we were talking about experimenting. So let me just get my little text up here. I started writing these things so that I don't forget what's going on, and plus I have things to play with while I'm talking to you guys. So prep for successful experimentation. And what do I mean by that? Experimentation happens, best in a lab, right? If you're thinking about a scientist, experimentation works very well in a lab. But a lab is set up. It has everything ready to go. Your lab coats are somewhere. Your beakers are, organized over here. You have all your instruments over here. Everything is ready to go and ready for you. Just walk in there and start to do your work. And the same thing, your lab, your studio should be prepped and ready to go on most of the time. So prep for a successful experimentation. Let's see what else I have. I have all these little notes here that I wrote for myself. Let's get rid of this prep one. Let's see. The right sound can inspire the right part. That's right. So set yourself up with a lot of the times, let's take Ableton, which I was talking really great about. Let's talk a little bit about my pet peeves with Ableton. One of my pet peeves with Ableton is that the presets are very, leave a lot to be desired. So when you go through the presets in Ableton, you just feel like, okay, yeah, this is a good sound, all right. And then you start to like try to write stuff with that. And once you start writing stuff with that, you can maybe come up with something really cool. But if you happen to have a synth that had, let's say, presets that were just out of this world or fantastic presets, you can get inspired very easily to do something more above what you expected to do with the sound that's so ho-hum, let's say. So the right sound can inspire the right part, and the right module, let's call that, the right module can inspire, let's make this big and let's roll this around. The right module can inspire the right sound module can inspire the right sound, meaning that there are pieces of equipment out there that people like to gravitate to. Now you saw my rack setup over here, and a lot of these modules they can really inspire me, and this is why I'm getting into it, because when I start to turn the knobs and feel the movement of the sound with my hands, I get really inspired, and the experimentation yields more and yields the right sound even. Okay, let's see what else I have written here. In the meantime, let's look at the chat. Huge savings on all upcoming online classes. Use the code EARLYTURKEY at checkout at 343 Labs. That's right, Early Turkey, everybody. Okay, so let's see we got going on here. I have a few more that I want to get through, and I think our guest is kind of just sitting and standing by and waiting for us. I'm going to ask the guest to just hang in there for a little bit. We have just a few more things to get through here. So what did we also write? What did I also write here? Open your mind. How about that? Open your mind. What do I mean by that? It sounds so cliche. Open your mind. Ooh. Okay, well, what I mean by open your mind is don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to go somewhere you haven't been before. That's what experimentation is all about. There is no such thing as like all experimentation you do is not going to yield something amazing. Maybe if you were lucky and 5% of your experimentation yielded something usable, then you were really lucky. And so experimentation comes with just with trying and failing. Really, failing is part of the whole process of experimentation. Allow yourself to take ridiculous chances, to try things that you might not have necessarily tried before, or that somebody might laugh at you, or that you might laugh at somebody for trying. Why not try it out? You never know. As I said, failure is the path to success. What do they say? The road to failure is paved with success. Break the model. Here's all these cliches. Break the model. What does this mean? Well, a lot of times you'll be presented with some sort of, say, plugin or something of that sort, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, it's supposed to make whatever. Let's say Ableton has this one plugin or one device called the tension, and it's supposed to make string sounds. Well, don't worry about what it's supposed to do. Just go in there and just try to make something else that sounds amazing, or that it's captivating in some other way. Don't worry about what the model is supposed to be doing. Break it. Look actively to break it, because it's in those little situations that some of the best successes that I've had, some of my producer friends have happened. Let's keep going here. Explore new styles. Here's that one. So don't be constant. Put this over my eyes. So don't be stuck in your own style. I mean, you like your style, you want to make your style, but in order to improve your style or make your style a little bit more interesting, even for yourself, you might want to pull something from another style, even another style that you may never have considered, exploring. So still goes into that whole open your mind sort of idea. Let's see what else. Here's a good one. Let's take that one out. Here's a good one. Try to collab or to collaborate. Try to collab. And why do I say try? I say try because sometimes it's not very easy to collaborate. Sometimes it's a hard thing to do. The collaboration there has to be a chemistry with the person that you might be trying to collaborate with. So but the right collaboration can yield things that you would have never came up with on your own, and the same thing would happen to the other person. So the combination of the two minds, or maybe even three minds, might come up with something that never would have come out of just you working alone in your own little personal brain echo chamber, which is only made out of criticism about how you're not making amazing stuff. Okay, let's see. I'm almost done with my list here, and I know my guest is waiting, and Neil is very into this, because he keeps on poking me to like let him in. But I'm just going to go a couple more things here. Embrace chaos, and I wanted to do a little embrace chaos action maybe a little later. But by that I mean embrace randomness. Randomness is your friend, and I wanted to do a little demo, but I think I'm gonna wait on that until I get talking to Neil a little bit. Maybe we'll do the embrace chaos demo a little bit later, and then I also wanted to talk a little bit about rinsing and repeating. So washing my clothes. But anyway, all right. So let's stop with the blabbing on my part, and let's get into seeing what's going on in the chat. In my day, we had Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, Tamita, and Rick Walkerman, whom I was lucky enough to work with a few times. And this is J.H. Kingston. Really? That's amazing. That's amazing. I don't know where that conversation came from, but that's pretty awesome. That's a great piece of thing to news or piece or something to read right now. All right, so let's let you guys know once again, we are in 343 TV. We stream every day at 1 p.m. And well, without further ado, I want to bring in our guest on here, and I'm gonna bring. Let me see. I have a thing where I could do a guest here. So I have a guest, and our guest is in the dark right now. You guys know him as Neil Landstrumm. Neil, can you turn on a light or something?
Yeah. Hold on.
So Neil lives in a car, at this moment? All right, there he is, everybody. There is Neil Landstrumm. He's a very, very famous guy, very, very charming guy, a very talented producer, and he at the moment is coming straight from his car to us today. Where are you in the world right now, Neil? Where in the world are
I'm
you?
in Brighton
Oh, right, right, right. And are you
on the
just
south coast.
are you in transit at the moment?
No, I'm a modern day gypsy.
Understood. Andrew Duke says, okay, so wait, let me just get it to you before I continue to read what's going on in the chat. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you get your start in music? How old were you? Because I know you were like 12 or something or 11.
Very good. No, I was it was 1994 and
Right.
I was about 19 and there was a crew of producers and people in Edinburgh and Scotland, and together we kind of DIY'd it and released our own music, and then I met Christian Vogel and I signed to Peace Frog Records, and that was kind of my big early break at the time.
What pushed you to do it anyway? I mean, I know what you were doing, in which basically you were just grabbing all sorts of gears you could get your hands on, and just
Yeah,
making stuff.
it,
Had you studied music?
no, not at all. So, I mean, that's kind of one of the points I want to make is that I'm entirely self-taught, and it's very much been learning by doing and learning off other producers. You know, you learn a lot by watching. I've never really read manuals. I've never had any lessons. I've never had any formal training, and I've just learned by doing.
So
So,
what do you? How do you get anything done? What do you use? The force, osmosis?
no, I think it's just. I think in some ways, if you learn by schooling or through certain techniques, it kind of molds you a certain way. I think there's a lot of flexibility and freedom in just doing it your own way. And there's a million ways to skin a cat. And my friend Toby put it quite well with one of his album titles that we teach mistakes, you know, and that I
Hmm.
think is the very nature of experimentation, is that some of the best records have been made without knowing anything about record production. You know, I think as soon as you start, as soon as musicianship and production creeps in, that's when you're in trouble. I think there's a great amount of power in having few machines or few bits of software and knowing them really, really well,
Hmm.
and also not knowing what you're doing.
Hmm. Let's actually show. Just some people might not know what you do. So I actually have queued up a bunch of your tracks here. Let's go to that for the moment, and let's see if I can make that work. So here I should have my DAW. Hold on. There we go. And can you see that, everybody? I hope so. And let me switch over to this view here so that I can sort of get these tracks played. I was listening to it before and I was like, which one am I going to start with? And I don't know because I really love them all. So do you have a suggestion for us? Oh, did we lose Neil? I think we might have lost Neil. In the meantime, I'm going to play one of his tracks. He'll try to sign in again, I'm sure. There he is. Um, let's uh,
Sorry,
let's
um,
let's let him back in
I,
here.
yeah, go with. I would go with Chintzy.
All right. Chintzy would be.
That's actually my last release. So I'm always about the the present time and the future. So I'd rather just always present new material, and that just came out on a British label called Exit Records, which is run by D Bridge, who's very very well known British drum and bass producer. And so Chintzy is kind of my take on. I've been doing a lot of half step stuff and different tempos. So um, just as a little outline to the production, it's MPC 3000, Moog Sub 37, and a couple of bits of outboard, and just Logic. It's all done in Logic, but it's hardware based.
All right, so let's just play it. Let's just see what's going on here.
Okay. They doing this, they doing this, they doing that. They doing this, they doing this, they doing that. Okay. Guilty by association. I made it through. They doing this, they doing this, they doing that. Okay. They doing this, they doing this, they doing that. I made it through. Going back and
All right,
forth,
so
going back and forth.
I want to
Going
get
back
to
and
a few
forth.
of these tracks, so let's kind of conserve time here. But we have a question here. It's an awesome track, by the way. We have a question here from Max Wild, who wants to know, why is two-step called two-step? And is this a two-step track?
No, that's not a two-step track.
Okay.
Well,
all
two-step's just.
right. All right, hold on. Let me just stop playing back. Go ahead.
I mean, that's more like a kind of half-step track, so it's kind of like a mixture of.
Okay, now
They kind of
half step, two step. Okay, explain to us what we're talking about here.
Two steps on the one in. I'm terrible when being put on the spot, but it's kind of like two-step is just two steps. It's kind of two kick drums or whatever, whereas
Okay.
half-step tends to be the snares on the three. So half-step is kind of like, I mean, again, this is a little bit of a fusion of kind of like West Coast sound and British, the kind of dubstep grime kind of sound. So the vocals in this particular piece are from Chicago, but the beats it's kind of British sounding, but mixed with that American kind of swing, I guess.
Right. So when you
Two steps garage, the two-step garage thing.
all right. Well, the thing is, as you know, and I know you know because you lived here in the United States for a while. What happens in the United States and what happens in the UK, especially the UK, not even Europe, but the UK, there's a big disconnect always. There's, it's almost like two worlds of music happening in parallel. So
Yeah.
we don't really understand some of the jargon or some of the sound that you might be referring to. So it's really nice to get you to explain that.
Two steps more of a kind of a skippy beat. It'd be a bit more upbeat than that. But see, I've been dropping that track in what I would consider like a techno kind of set, because you can kind of get up to that pace. Like if you queue up the Doberman track, that's at 145, but that Chintzy's about 150, I think. So because it's half step, it can go over much sort of faster beats, and because the 808 kind of kicks got so much sub, you hear that in a rig and it's like, it's total earth shattering bass. So maybe if you queue up the Doberman,
I got it ready right now. Let's just
so
play that.
Doberman is very much like the sound that came before jungle. So it's what in the UK they call hardcore. So it kind of is the sort of bridge between early late acid house, early techno, and then they started using the breakbeats. But I mean, again, it's like a modern take on it. The production's a bit clearer and so on.
All right, so let's listen, and maybe you could clear it up a little bit more after we listen. Just going to lower it a little bit and talk over it as we're doing. Got Andrew Duque says it's always nice to hear some Hoovers. Maybe you could explain that. What's that?
Some what, sorry?
Yeah, so Hoovers. I know what that.
Oh,
that's
goobers.
Yeah.
Goobers.
It's really nice to hear some goobers. No, maybe you could explain what he means by Hoovers.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Mentasm sound, which Beltram came up with, but arguably other producers in New York came up with at the same time, like Mondo Musique, you know, sort of. It was that thick Belgian bending. I mean, the Hoover sound. It sounds like, you know, sort of wow. It's got a kind of growl to it. It very much became a cornerstone of UK hardcore, along with that kind of rave stab. So even though you've heard those sounds a million times, I thought it would be nice to do a fresh take on it. And what I've done there is I've taken them into the MPC and used them, and then overlaid it. The more kind of like vocal sounding bass is just carving a bandpass filter on I don't know, 4 by Electron. So I mean, again, you know, as an example, that track was done on my my parents' kitchen table.
Oh yeah, no, wait, hold on a second, because Max Wild wants to know how you set this up for production. Please.
Yeah, I mean, basically, honestly, it couldn't be more like great music on 4 tracks or 8-track tape recorders. It was basically an MPC 2500, which is kind of an old MPC, an analog 4, a sound card, no mixing desk, no outboard gear. I just sat jamming it out stem by stem into Logic, and then produced it pretty much using plugins. But part of my technique now is actually I tend to try and not use so many plugins. I just use the very basic high-end, you know, SSL kind of waves stuff, and try and get everything right before it goes in. I find if you start relying on plugins too much, it just ends up taking all the kind of sheen off hardware sound. Like I mean, these old Akai's and these old machines, the preamps that output the sound, they're so good that all you really need to do is capture that and then very mildly produce them, and you get incredible clarity and punch just from that. So,
you were the first person to introduce me to that concept. I remember a long time ago when you were still living here in New York, you you told me you're going to spend a whole heap of money on a manly, what was it, a compressor or what?
Yeah. I ended up I got a Crane Song STC1, which is, it's basically a mastering quality compressor, but.
Right, but I thought you were crazy. I thought you were crazy for dropping all that money in there on that thing. And then when I actually heard it, then I knew the difference.
Yeah, it's pure silk. It's pure audio gold. So the next track we're going to queue up is using that Crane Song. I've got a Valve EQ kind of warming unit called a Thermionic Culture Rooster, which is again something I always run everything through. And basically all you do is turn these pieces of outboard on. You don't really do much else to them. You just turn them on.
You just want to go through the circuitry.
The circuitry is all about the circuitry and harmonics. So, you don't actually, yes, it's kind of a step up in quality, but my mantra for audio equipment has always been to buy the best I could at any one time and stretch myself a little bit. I'm not a total gear whore. I don't go after all the new stuff. I tend to buy stuff secondhand, get deals off mates, all that kind of stuff, but buy the best quality I can. And that has definitely stood the test of time, because my studio, though not massive, is some really nice pieces of gear. I've had to sell a few bits along the way to pay for bills and everyone else.
Well, that's what we do, right? We collect it in order to kind of, that's our currency actually for all those old...
to get through. But there's a lot of older equipment. It just sounds so good, and don't be caught up in the cycle of I need the newest thing, I need this plugin, you don't need it. You need to just get your ideas down. If you don't have the idea, you're kind of pissing in the wind. And I find that, like you were saying earlier, I just caught the beginning of it. You were talking about presets.
Mm-hmm.
Just forget presets. Just forget about them. You might, okay, sometimes you use them as a jump off point, like a sine wave or a square wave, but don't be somebody that uses presets. It just ends up sounding very preset, and it just if you just make one or two new sounds and stick to them, and then immediately you've got your own signature. Like, a big part of what I do has always been based on a sort of trying to create a signature sound, and the very nature of experimentation is failing, but on those occasions that something happens, the moons are aligned or whatever it is, you just come up with the new thing, and that is the ultimate satisfaction as a producer.
Right on. So for those that don't know, we're speaking with Neil Landstrumm. I should put up his name on there. We're speaking with Neil Landstrumm, old head producer from making stuff today as currently and as great as he was in the 90s when I first met the young chap. He's younger than I am, so that's why I could refer to him as that. You're watching 343 TV. We're here every day at 1 p.m. streaming about all that is to do with music production, music composition, music recording, and all that stuff. We come from 343 Labs, which is a school where we teach you guys how to do all this stuff. We teach you how to use any DAW that you'd like, specifically Ableton and maybe Logic. I also can teach you some Bitwig if you like. I have a mixing and mastering program that I also teach. We have classes really running the gamut of all things like sound design for music producers. I sometimes things escape me, so if I didn't mention a particular program, you should go to the website 343labs.com and check out all our classes. Check out the class schedules. We have them online, we have them in person. We have a school in New York, we have a school in Berlin, and we're giving away a $200 voucher for Ableton. and that's not during this show. That's in tomorrow's show. On tomorrow's show, on John's show, John Selway does a Techno Saturday show, and he'll be bringing us the winner of the weekly giveaway. Other than that, look out for our Black Friday specials coming along. All right, let's see. Let's continue. Where did we leave off? We wanted to play another one of these tracks here, Neil. Which one should we?
Yeah. I thought maybe as an example of pure analog kind of vintage equipment production, I thought it'd be quite interesting to play HLLM.
Which that
which
would be not Chintzy, the orange one.
I think it is. Yeah, it's a bit shorter.
Right. So
this is done entirely on analog sort of vintage equipment.
Give us a rundown.
Edited.
Give us a rundown of the equipment you used.
So this is original 808, Jupiter 6, a Jupiter 8, a 101, and Sequential Prophet Pro 1. There is some editing, but basically it's live jam and then produced very mildly in Logic, but it's going through the Crane Song, the Rooster, and I think there's a little bit of in Sonic DP4 for the sort of spatial stuff. But again, so this is pure octopus hands in the studio, changing patterns and filtering and all the rest of it.
So what came first, the Rooster or the Vulture?
The Vulture culture, but I mean the Vulture is more like hardcore compression into distortion, whereas the Rooster is purely like a kind of audio sweetener. So it's kind of got valve stages of warmth up to harmonic distortion, and then you've got a very basic bass and mid, almost like a pool tech kind of warming thing. I mean, it's such a nice piece of equipment.
So we're talking about the Thermionic Culture Vulture and the Thermionic Culture Rooster, which is devices that were created just to saturate pretty much the sound. They're saturated.
Yeah, saturate and warm, and I think the Culture Vulture is a compressor, but it's the Rooster that I have. It's the Crane Song.
No, it's not. I use the Culture Vulture a lot in plugins and the UAD plugins, and it's not really a compressor. It's just more of a it has a pentode and two pentodes and a triode mode, and
they've carried that over into the Rooster. So you've got that circuitry, but you've also got EQ, but it's kind of very broad, kind of warming EQ. It's not specific kind of carving.
All right, so let's stop with the geek talk and listen to some good music. How about that? It's another remarkable track. What gets me the most is that how we've played 3 tracks now, and we've had 3 different styles altogether going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm all about.
You're the octopus man, right? So Andrew Duque says Neil always has great juxtapositions of gritty and tough versus smooth and sweet. I don't know if you disagree with that, but I don't.
No, it's an interesting observation.
Yeah, and you know what? I know your music going back a long way, and there's a lot more dimensions than just these 3 that we've heard today.
Yeah, no, I do. I mean, I used to do a lot of kind of very heavy techno stuff, but I kind of feel like I've done that to death. So
you're never doing techno again? Techno?
Well, to me, it's all techno. This is where I kind of get into arguments.
What do you mean it's all techno?
I just find a lot of what became techno in the last 10 years. I just find it dull as dishwater. It just doesn't do it for me.
You mean you're not into the business techno?
No, I mean I'm just. Like,
so what does techno mean to you, my friend?
Well, I mean, again, the British thing was very much not so penned into genres, you know, like what I got into it for and what I really enjoy a DJ to do or a club night to be is the original idea of rave, which was just a sort of very much a melting pot or potpourri of all kinds of genres. You would hear hip hop in there, you'd hear garage, you know, like house garage or UK garage. You would hear jungle, you'd hear acid, you'd hear techno, and it all created the sound of the night. It wasn't this very genre specific thing it ended up, you know, and certainly for me, I've been very fortunate to continue to be booked to do the live performances, and I get booked at a lot of interesting gigs, and some more arty ones, some more mixed up ones. But whenever I get one of these kind of pure techno, what's become techno, I'm just like, you can't tell the difference between any of what people like. I don't know whether that's me being like old or something.
I'm older than you, but you're having a get off my lawn moment right now.
Yeah, that isn't techno to me. It's like, in some ways, a lot of this modern stuff, which is very much sample pack and DAW driven stuff, it's like they just take a bag of bits that are already pre-produced, throw it together, and it becomes a track. And yes, it sounds very well put together, but it just doesn't have any soul. And I think a lot of the original techno or original acid house or electro, whatever you want to call it, it just reeks of soul, even though the production may not be so good or the mastering wasn't so tight and punchy. And I just think more of that has to come back in the post-COVID era of rave. I mean, this is another discussion. It's getting away from production, but I kind of think that the sort of digital revolution, as amazing as it was, it needs to sit alongside a respect or an inclusion with some of the.
So just to clear things up, you do use a computer.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of the very early adopters of DAWs. I mean, we used Deck 2, we used Peak. It featured very early, but we didn't, meaning me and my kind of crew of producers, we didn't jump ship to it. We kind of used it more as a modern day tape recorder.
Is that what it still is for you? Do you ever use like a plug-in synth?
I mean, I do like the very heavy computer-based production, but I find sometimes it inhibits the flow of a live jam, and I think that's a shame. But the live jam comes with its own negatives and problems, in that there's always mistakes. There's always a bit you wish you could change later. The snare drum might be too loud, you know. But there's just stuff like that. So I switch between outputting stems and laying them out in a very kind of DAW based block grid kind of thing, and very, you know, maybe editing down 3 or 4 live jams from, say, an MPC and a couple of other pieces. And neither one is better, but I do tend to feel that you capture the spirit or the energy a bit more in a live jam, and you can be more precise and surgical and reflective with a post with a stem based edit.
Right. Well,
Oh, sorry.
polishing, I guess, can happen in there. Oh, your light went off.
I know. Hold on. I'm gonna be
You're
back.
you're in the dark now. So I don't know if you might agree with me, but I find that using the gear is more conducive towards experimentations that yield really fun things than in using a mouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's some, as an example of a producer that I've got an amazing amount of respect for, Man Parrish, who did
Right.
hip hop
Yeah.
bebop.
Yeah.
There's an amazing piece to camera that he did where he talks about making that track. And the thing that really came across for me was it's very difficult for a producer, a young producer today, to understand how difficult it was to do that in 1981 or 2, when I can't remember the exact year. But he spent ages with live gear that didn't talk to each other. So bear that in mind. It didn't sync. He just had to record, say, 8 bars by pressing both machines play at the same time, an 808 and something else, and then tape edit together his final piece of music. So he didn't even have proper synchronization then, and he still managed to produce this absolutely timeless piece of electronic music. So
JFK Productions writes something here, and maybe you could speak on this. He says, I suppose he said the average person can't even begin to think about going dollars in this day and age. The stuff is insanely expensive. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I mean that's true, but bear in mind that some of the best pieces of music have been written on maybe 2 items of equipment from a pawn shop or a second-hand shop. There's some amazing pieces, particularly by Korg, which I use in the studio, which are very, very cheap, second-hand or third-hand, or 5 years old, that are incredibly powerful. So the same set of tools that perhaps was available in the 80s quite cheap, or in the acid house era, or even in the early techno era, there's the very equivalent pieces of equipment that for a small investment you can have a very functional hardware studio. Look, at the end of the day, it's what's in here that's important, and no piece of equipment is
right. But it is a little scary to just grab a couple of pieces of equipment and and then adopt the contrarian nature about like how are you going to do it, and then just go ahead. And when you see everybody with their DAWs kind of just opening it up, and 15 minutes later they're dancing around to something, it is kind of a harder road to travel, wouldn't you say? The gear.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think it's certainly maybe a little bit more.
Well, I don't think I agree with it either. I'm just adding kind of playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah. I mean, but there is a steep learning curve to really knowing Logic or really knowing Ableton. Like, I can't say I really know Ableton at all. I've used it for live performances, and Logic is really my kind of go-to tool. But I mean, still, I don't know. I mean, I'll be in the studio with another producer, and they'll say, "Oh, just click the da 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 da," and I'm like, "What?" Because I've never learned it properly, And it's the same with hardware. I think, yes, hardware can be kind of annoying and can seem a little bit futile, and you never. I remember there's a plateau stage with it. Like, you get to a point where you can never quite finish a track, or what is a track, and
what is a track?
Yeah, there is no ideal solution, but I think personally the combination of the two is the powerful bit. So it's neither one nor the other, But again, if you look at, say, like a band like Suicide, who were very early in the kind of electronic punk, 77, 78 kind of era, they made arguably one of the most timeless pieces of LPs on very little equipment. Very little equipment. So having a huge studio or not having enough equipment is not an excuse to.
Hey, I find that the more equipment that I have, the less inspired I get, and the more.
Absolutely. So without a doubt, recently I've been limiting myself, either through circumstance or by choice, to really only using a couple of pieces of equipment.
So let's get to this last track here, because we're starting.
Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of like my new style that's coming out in an album next year on Swamp 81. Again, this is the kind of UK half step thing, but we're working at much faster tempos. I think this is about 170 or 180.
So
but
half
the beats
step.
are
So
yeah,
Max
the
Wild,
beats,
this is half step, okay, not two step. All right,
and it gives it a kind of, the timing of it gives it a nice kind of swing.
All right, let's see what we're talking about. Oh, wait, hold on. We got two going at the same time. Just when you...
Yeah, I think it's the long one at the bottom, is it?
Oh, isn't it this one? Land, swamp, dip, dip it and whip.
Dip it and whip it.
And whip it. This is great music, Neil. We're kind of running out of time, so I gotta lower it a little bit and talk to you on the way out. I guess John Selway didn't come up with our surprise. We're waiting for you, John. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of like before we say bye to Neil, I just want to reiterate we are here at 343 TV. We're here every day at 1 p.m., including Sundays. Some Sundays we might have a rerun, but most Sundays we either have a feedback session or we have Ariel, who has a amazing mixing and mastering show once a month. But other than that, every day we just go for it. And we bring to you whatever we can. We try as hard as we can. Hey, by the way, if you guys want to give me some likes, that would be nice. Or dislikes. Last week I asked for dislikes and 2 people hit the dislike button. So go ahead and do it if you feel that you like what you're seeing. And maybe you could also hit the subscribe button and maybe the bell notification button and all that stuff, because we're trying to get to 100,000 followers or subscribers by the end of the year. We only have about close to 6,000 right now. We need another 94,000 and we'll be there. Anyway, yeah, we're just ending the show now. This is the music of Neil Landstrumm. Is this going under the Neil Landstrumm moniker, Neil?
Yeah.
Do you produce under other names? Do you produce under other names?
I have done, yeah. Shit and Cheap's one of my other ones.
Okay. Anything else?
What else have I done? Yeah, I mean a few, but it's just always Neil Landstrumm. That's the kind of.
Well, and you also have Scandinavia Records, which is your record label and fashion brand as well.
Yeah, that every record I do for other labels tends to always have Scandinavia on it. It's just the kind of the house studio brand, so to speak.
Right. So just let us know where we could hear your music, where we could get your you have a lot of stuff that you could get from Scandinavia, your brand. Where can we
it's
get
all Bandcamp. I've really built up the Bandcamp. So if it's not on individual labels, basically 99% of all my productions right the way back from 94 is on my personal Bandcamp. So people can listen to it there, or they can buy it if they feel, or there's actually quite a lot of.
Are you still selling like merchandising, like T-shirts and stuff like that? Yeah,
I mean,
you always had a really great eye for a while. You were doing loads of graphic stuff, and so you're as talented with the graphics as you are with the music stuff.
Well, it's all just under the same kind of art banner, really. So, I mean, this year, because the gigs have died because of COVID, I've been doing more T-shirts with every release. I was working with Sports Banger in London, and we did a T-shirt together, and that sold out. So, to be honest, doing the T-shirt and the record now has been really like a salvation in a year without gigs. I mean, you know, I was saying to you when we were speaking before, like playing in India just before lockdown was a amazing privilege to be invited to play in Mumbai to like 1,500 people, and that was like the last gig pretty much of my year. So,
well, let's hope for better days. But anyway, we've run out of time. Thanks, Neil, so much for being a great sport and coming down and talking to us and sharing some of your new music, some even unreleased stuff here, and talking to us about what you got going on. And great to see you from your living room, which is your car right now.
It's my car.
All right, everybody. Take care. See you next week. And John, you owe me one. This is Production Basics. My name is Abe Duque. You were watching 343 TV, and we'll talk to you soon.